We usually think of numbers as, well, pretty straightforward. A 7 is a 7. It's predictable. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? What if, underneath that simple surface, numbers have these complex, hidden personalities, that they can act in ways you would never, ever expect? So, that brings us to a really cool paradox. Get this. Can two numbers be totally different, but also identical? I know, it sounds impossible, right? Well, the whole secret is in this fascinating area of math called modular arithmetic. The easiest way to think about it is like a clock. You know how 1 o'clock in the afternoon is also 13? They're different numbers, but they point to the exact same spot on the clock. In that world, they shared the same address. And we're about to see that exact same idea play out, but on a much, much bigger scale. All right, let's meet our two main characters, 28757 and 24257. Now, at first glance, they look totally unrelated. But watch what happens. If we divide both of them by 36, something really strange happens. They both leave behind the exact same remainder, 29. So in this kind of 36-channel universe, they live at the same address. You can't tell them apart. But believe me, that's where the similarities stop, dead in their tracks. Okay, so let's put on our detective hats here. We've got two suspects, right? They share an address, but we have a hunch they're not the same person. It's time to go deeper and find that hidden code that tells us who they really are. And here it is, our first big clue. When we break these numbers down into their prime factors, their fundamental building blocks, we see they have completely different DNA. It's like realizing two people who live at the same address have totally different family trees. This right here, this internal code, this is the key to everything. So how do we actually get these hidden personalities to come out? Well, we have to put them under a special kind of stress test. The source material calls it an algorithmic magnifying glass, basically a process that's specifically designed to force them to show us their true colors. And here's our tool. The best way to picture it is like we're carefully taking apart a really complex machine. At every step, we're going to pull off the biggest possible piece of a very specific type. And by watching how each number comes apart, piece by piece, we can figure out its internal design. Let's see what happens. Okay, first up to the plate is 28757. The research describes this number's journey like a comet, just this wild, chaotic, high-energy thing streaking through the number system. Its path is, well, it's anything but predictable. And just look at this path. It's this chaotic tumble through the number space. The very first step, it lands on 4181. And trust me, that number is a huge deal. We'll get back to it. Then it bounces around until step 4. And whoa, look at that. The result is 149. That's one of its own prime factors. The algorithm literally coughed up a piece of its own DNA. But it doesn't even stop there. It keeps going, overshoots the mark, and collapses into a negative number. This is just wild, totally unpredictable. Okay, let's just pause on that first step because this is absolutely incredible. The algorithm, just blindly following its rules, lands on 4181. And it just so happens that 4181 is the 19th Fibonacci number. Yeah, that Fibonacci sequence, the one that shows up in spiral patterns all over nature, from seashells to entire galaxies. This is no accident. It's a massive clue that our comet's chaotic path, it's not random at all. It's a spiral collapsing in on itself. And this quote from the source material just nails it. This whole chaotic journey isn't just random noise, it's a targeted search. The number is literally using its own energy, spiraling inward, hunting for its own fundamental parts. It's a system that's designed to fall apart, but to do it in a way that actually reveals something profound. Okay, now let's turn our attention to our other number, 2425. If the first one was a chaotic comet, this one is its complete opposite. It's like a stable planet, moving in a calm, predictable orbit. The difference between the two is just stunning. Seriously, just look at this. This is almost hard to believe. Keep your eye on that difference column all the way on the right. At every single step of the process, the gap is exactly the same, 319, every single time. There's zero chaos here. This thing isn't a comet, it's a crystal. It moves with perfect, rigid, mathematical order. So the key to this whole thing is that number, 319. It's what's called an invariant, because it never, ever changes. It's like the secret metronome ticking away inside, dictating this number's perfectly orderly march. But what is 319? Okay, this is where it gets completely mind-blowing. So what is this mystery number, 319? Well, if we break it down, it's just 11 times 29. And what are those numbers? Well, get this. 29 is the number's own address that we started with. And 11, that's the address of one of its own prime factors. This is unbelievable. The number is literally whispering its own secrets at every single step. It's a perfectly ordered, self-referencing loop. All right, so let's recap. We've got one number that's a chaotic searching spiral, and another that's a rigid, perfectly ordered crystal. Two totally opposite personalities. So what happens if we stop looking at them as two separate things and instead see them as two parts of one single, much larger structure? So let's just lay it all out. On one hand, you have the comet, this chaotic, converging spiral that finds out who it is by literally falling apart. And on the other hand, you have the planet, this orderly, linear cylinder that holds onto its identity with this incredible rigidity. You've got chaos and you've got order. So what happens when you weave them together? Let's actually picture that for a second. The planet's stable, linear journey creates this solid, predictable core, like a cylinder. And the comet's chaotic, searching journey creates a dynamic, winding spiral. So what happens when you take that spiral and wrap it around that stable cylinder? You get this, an arithmetic double helix. But here's the really cool part. It's not symmetrical like DNA is. It's an asymmetric helix. One strand, the one from our planet number, is the rigid, stable backbone. The other strand, from our comet, is the flexible, dynamic spiral that winds around the outside, exploring the number space. So you might be wondering, what keeps this whole thing from just flying apart? Well, the researchers found these things called null points. Think of them like mathematical rivets, or the rungs on a ladder. There are these specific moments where the chaotic spiral and the stable core perfectly synchronize and lock into place, holding the whole beautiful structure together. And this is really the core idea, the big takeaway. Why is this lopsided, asymmetric structure so important? Well, think about it. If both strands were rigid and orderly, the system would be frozen, dead, boring. If both were chaotic, it would just be noise. It's only this combination, this dance between stability and chaos, that allows for something truly complex and creative to be born. And you have to understand, this isn't just some cool party trick that works for these two numbers. This discovery hints at something much, much deeper. A hidden architecture woven into the very fabric of mathematics itself. The researchers are pretty sure that what we're seeing is a fractal principle. That means this pattern isn't a one-off. This choice, to be a chaotic spiral or an orderly crystal, is something that numbers face over and over again, at every possible scale, from the incredibly small to the mind-bogglingly large. It suggests the number line isn't just a smooth, flat road. It's a whole landscape with a rich, repeating texture. So, okay, why does any of this matter in the real world? Well, for one thing, cryptography. All of our modern digital security relies on it being super hard to find the prime factors of huge numbers. So if we can figure out which numbers are orderly planets that might spill their secrets and which are chaotic comets that hide them really well, that's a game changer for creating unbreakable codes. And maybe even more exciting, this helix structure might act like a giant centrifuge for numbers, concentrating those rare, precious prime numbers into predictable spots. That would be a holy grail for mathematicians. And all of this leaves us with one final big thought. We started with two numbers that, in one very specific way, looked identical. But we found out they were living these secret, incredibly complex inner lives. And by following their journeys, we uncovered this hidden structure of just breathtaking elegance. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other secret universes are out there, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to find the right way to look?